Welcome back to video 2 on perfect square trinomials. We have already filled out actually a pretty significant portion of our factoring book for this. Don't worry, we're actually going to use the same problems for today's second video. We're just going to complete them. We're going to actually factor them. So we had our examples up here and our try and our owns down here. We're going to start back up in the examples, and what I'm going to put on the screen first, you're going to have already written up here. Okay, so we're continuing the examples, right? So we had already done a problem like this, right? That was like the first thing we wrote down, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And we showed one step of work, which was we take the square root of a squared as a, the square root of b squared is b, we times it by 2, and we get the middle term. So we've already hopefully written down that work on our paper. This work is important because this is where your answer is going to come from. So after you decide that, yes, it is a perfect square trinomial, we're going to go, boom, answer, instantly. So there's this one step of work and then instant answer. For a perfect square trinomial, your final answer is going to be a parentheses squared. In the parentheses squared, you're going to put the square root of the first number, which we wrote down right here, the sign from the middle number, whether it was positive or negative, and the square root of the last number, which we wrote over here. So you're just kind of hand picking things that you have already written down. You throw it in a parentheses, put a square on the outside, and you're done. That's the answer. So after you do this initial step of work and decide, yes, it is perfect square trinomial, you can get to your answer straight away. No X, no box required. Here's our other example that we had already done earlier in our first video. So you should already have all of this written on your paper. Now I would like to write the answer. Based on this work that I've already shown, my answer should be x minus 6 squared. X minus 6 parentheses squared. That's it. Let's try one more from start to finish. So we don't have very much in this top section, right? So you should be able to fit a third example up here. Okay, so one last example up here, and then we'll go down to our try on our owns again. So here's a problem, brand new problem, haven't done it yet. I am noticing I'm seeing some perfect squares, so I think this would be a great candidate for perfect square trinomial. Plus, I super don't want to do X box on this one because the first step on the X is to multiply 81 times 16, and that's crazy. That's huge. I don't want to deal with those big numbers. So let's try perfect square trinomial. My first term I can take the square root of. The square root of 81 is 9, and the square root of y squared is y. My last term is positive, and I can take the square root of that as well. The square root of 16 is 4. In between, we always put a times 2. All right, 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 9 is 72. And we're good. This is a perfect square trinomial. That's great news, because now I can write my answer. My answer is 9y plus 4 squared. That's it. We're done. So much faster. So if you can decide that something is a perfect square trinomial, you can get to the answer a lot quicker than Xbox. It's going to make your tests and your quizzes go a lot faster for these specific problems. Now, I will say this doesn't happen very often. It does happen, so you want to be aware of it, but it's not going to be the most common type of factoring. Okay, now that we know how to write an answer, let's go back to our try on our owns. So you had written 10 try on your owns down here. And in our first video, we identified 5 of them that were perfect square trinomials. So what I would like you to do now is go to the 5 problems that we said yes and write your final answer. They were problems 1, 4, 5, 7, and 10. Pause the video, try it on your own, and when you're ready to check, restart. Okay, let's see how we did. So for the first one, I got x plus 4 squared. For number 4, which was our next yes, I got x plus 5 squared. Number 5, I got 2x minus 5 squared. This time it was a minus because my middle term was being subtracted. For number 7, I got 7 minus y squared. Notice that I kept the order the same. So if we started with the 49, I did start with the 7. And for that last one, number 10, I got x minus 1 squared. Now, since this is the process that we're learning today, perfect square trinomials, it's safe to bet that, your homework is going to be just perfect square trinomials. There might be some where you have to take a GCF out first, so just be aware of that. And then that is the end of today's videos.